In order to produce your best and impact others, you must be able to lead yourself. Your faith can only go as far as your self-leadership. And it's my desire for you to be able to produce your very, very best, as well as impact every single person that you come into contact with. So today, our conversation is going to be centered around 4 principles to improve your self-leadership. Welcome, everybody, to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, your place to build your faith and master your craft. I'm so grateful to have you here today as we are talking about 4 principles to improve your self-leadership. Now, why is it important that we talk about the concept of self-leadership? How does self-leadership even apply to our lives? The concepts of leadership and personal growth work together. Here's what I mean. You cannot have good leadership without personal growth. And when you focus on your personal growth, you will find yourself developing into a leader. And so, again, like I said, leadership and personal growth, they work together very well. And as high performers, dreamers, innovators, trailblazers, right, as people who simply just want to produce more in our lives, we must be able to effectively lead ourselves. And a lot of times when we think about leadership, just the overall concept of leadership, we most of the times think about it in the context of one person delegating tasks, one person telling other people what to do, casting vision to other people about here's what we can do, here's what we will do, here's how we're going to get it done. You know, a lot of times that's how we think about it. Now, that's not inaccurate. That absolutely is a level of leadership. But self-leadership, to me, how I view it, is at the foundation of leading other people, because you cannot lead other people if you cannot effectively lead yourself. Because for me, how I define leadership overall is influencing and inspiring others with integrity. Now, a lot of times, like I said before, we always think about how leadership is influencing and inspiring other people. But the integrity piece is most important, because integrity is only found with self. Okay, integrity is only found with self. And that's where self-leadership comes in. And I believe that every single leadership expert would agree with me that any leader that does not have an amazing ability to lead themselves is not worth following. So the first principle that we need in order to improve our self-leadership is we must honor our own word. We must honor our word. There's 2 things that I want you to think about when we consider the principle of honoring your word. Number 1 is taking inventory of what you say you're going to do. And then the second thing is following through on what you said that you are going to do. Now, this is something that a lot of us struggle with. I know that there are areas of this and parts of this that I'm still working to get better at. But a lot of us, for example, you say that you're going to send an email as soon as you get off the phone, and you don't. You say that you're going to go to the gym 2 days a week, but you don't. You say that you're going to save a certain amount of money this week, but you don't. We have all of these different instances where we'll say one thing, but we'll end up doing another. And if we're all being honest, does that sound like a leader that you would want to follow? Probably not. So why do we do that to ourselves? We have to value our word. And the way in which we're able to do that is, number 1, being super accurate and honest about what we are actually going to do, as well as being super accurate and honest with what we can do. So I'm not over promising, but I'm also not under delivering either. So I want to make sure that, again, like the Bible says, let your yeses be yeses and your noes be noes. So if I say I'm going to do something, I am intentional with making sure it gets done simply because I said it. Again, the task or the thing that I said I'm going to do might be insignificant. It might not be that big of a deal, but because I said that that's what I'm going to do, that's what added the significance, because now my name is on the line. So whatever arena you may be talking about, it may be in the area of your relationships, it may be in the area of your job and your career, it may be just personal. You need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and know, when I say I'm going to do something, I actually do it. I actually follow through. And this sounds so basic, but how many of us always trip up over the basic things? And I'm telling you that when you are intentional with taking stock and taking inventory over what you say you're going to do, and you are also intentional with making sure that you follow through with doing those things, you will find yourself a lot more confident. You'll find yourself being able to take more risks just because, again, you know how to honor your word. And again, you want to make sure that as you're honoring your word, that you are intentional. Again, it's intentionality. It's basically saying, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it because I value me. I'm the one that adds value to the action, not the action itself. Just because I said I'm going to do it, now my name is on the line. So that's number one. The first principle is you need to honor your word. The second principle to improve our self-leadership is ask better questions. And this is important because if we ask better questions, we'll get better answers, which can lead to more effective actions. The idea and principle of asking better questions is, if I am encountering a problem, if I am encountering a situation, I'm not just staying surface level at, oh, who was involved, or why did this happen, or how did this happen? Those are very surface level questions, and they are great, and you'll eventually get deeper. But when you are thinking about just whatever situation may be in front of you, as situations present themselves, you always want to be asking yourself, is this a surface level question, or is this something deeper? Because again, we want to give ourselves the most information possible. We want to give ourselves the best information possible so we can make better decisions, because ultimately we all have to make better decisions. And in order for us to make amazing decisions, we need information. So as we ask better questions, in order for us to ask better questions, I should say, we have to actually take our time and think. We have to take our time and think, because thinking, as I've seen it for myself as well as just with other people, thinking is the one thing that people forget to do. Thinking is the one thing that people forget to do. What do I mean? A lot of times when we are faced with problems, we immediately allow our emotions to cause us to react to the problem, where we are just, oh my gosh, this happened. How could this happen? Why? We ask all of the surface level questions because of the emotion, as opposed to controlling our emotions, not allowing our emotions to take over, and actually thinking about, okay, what is a better question? As opposed to just, again, the basic, what happened? Why did this happen? How that happened? We want to make sure that we're asking better questions. And so one is actually taking the time to think about the problem, taking time to think about the situation. And as we take our time and think about the situation, we will then be able to, again, flesh out fully, here's what the situation is. Let me actually get to the root of the problem. Let me actually get to the root of why this happened. And when you are thinking about finding the root to a problem, you give yourself, again, you equip yourself with the information necessary. It's asking better questions is similar to, if you were to get a cut that was really bad, right? And you needed to get it stitched. Well, if you ask surface level questions, it's pretty much the same as just putting a Band-Aid on a cut that needs stitches. But again, stitches take time. So asking better questions is actually asking what's necessary to properly fix whatever issue exists. So that way we're not dealing with it again in a week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever the case is. So ask better questions so you can get better information, so you can take better action. Okay, that's number 2. The third principle is to authorize accountability. You must have people in your life who will keep it real with you, regardless if you ask for it or not. You must have people in your life who will always and consistently shine light on your blind spots, because we all have blind spots. We all have areas in our lives that we just miss because our focus is in something else. I can be really focused on my professional career, but I might have a blind spot with my physical health. I can be really focused on my finances, but my relationships could be suffering. We must have people in our lives who will hold us accountable to the standard of living that we said that we are going to live. That's why honoring your word is so important. So it's not about just living this life of self-leadership where, I just lead myself and no one's there to support me, because everyone needs somebody. Everyone needs people. We all need people. But you also want to make sure that you have key individuals that are in your inner circle who can just be real with you about how they think you're progressing. They'll be able to keep you on track because again, it's very easy to get off track. It's very easy, particularly as we are looking to get things done and everything. And I believe that the reason why a lot of us fall into deal with things like, procrastination, as well as self-doubt and burnout and all these different things, is because we don't have accountability. Because if you have accountability, someone who's there with you, who you are keeping updated with your progress and telling them what's going on, they'll be able to catch you before you fall. But if you fall, now you're wondering, where is everyone to help me? So make sure that you have identified individuals who can just keep it real with you whether you ask for it or not. Now, the fourth and final priority is to always find the lesson. Always find the lesson. Why is this important? As we are on our personal growth journey, we are going to be reaching new levels, which means that we will be facing new obstacles. And we want to make sure that we are always on the track for growth, not on the track for consistent frustration. So if I am always trying to find the lesson in every single situation that I am in, as I am working to make decisions, as I'm honoring my word, as I'm listening to my accountability, as I am asking better questions, as I'm on this road, I'm going to be facing situations that I've never seen before. Probably situations I've only heard about, but now my own Goliath is in front of me. I want to make sure that I'm finding the lesson in it, and I'm focusing on finding the lesson. I'm not focusing on the problem itself. It's an aspect of being solution-based. It's an aspect of making sure that I want to make sure I'm growing as a result of this, not just being frustrated at the end of it. Because every single thing that you go through, there is a lesson there, but it's up to you to choose whether or not you're going to intentionally focus on it. It's up to you to choose if you're going to find it. There always is a lesson. Always. Whether you are frustrated, disappointed, offended, whatever it is, there is a lesson, but you have to always find it. And you will be able to lead yourself well when you are consistently, whatever situation, whatever arena of your life it is, you will always must find the lesson. Because what you can do with that lesson, once you have it, it's basically another tool in your toolkit for you to use for the rest of your life. Because again, if we don't find the lesson, let's say if you don't take this step of establishing this as a principle for your life to improve your self-leadership, you will find yourself in cycles. You'll find yourself dealing with the same thing over and over again. But it could be solved if you had just found the lesson. Because when you find the lesson, now you're able to apply that information. And so to recap everything that we talked about, if we want to improve our self-leadership, we need these 4 principles. The first principle being we must honor our word. We must honor our word. And we're able to do that by taking inventory of what we say we're going to do, as well as actually following through on what we say we're going to do. Number 2, we're going to ask better questions. When we are faced with situations in our life, we want to make sure that we're getting to the root cause, the root problem of whatever it is, that we were actually stitching up the issues so that we never deal with it again, as opposed to putting Band-Aids on it. And so we're going to go deeper as we address situations. So we want to ask better questions because we want to equip ourselves with better information so we can take more effective action. Thirdly, we're going to authorize accountability. We're going to have people around us that are going to hold us accountable without us even asking for it. And then number 4, we are going to find the lesson. We're going to find the lesson because once we find the lesson, we're adding tools to our toolbox. So that way, should we ever face the same situation or should we face something similar, we know what to do. Okay. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation because I certainly had a blast talking with you about it. Be sure to leave me a comment to let me know how you're intentionally growing this week because I would certainly love to hear, as well as I'm going to encourage you to share this with someone who wants to improve their self-leadership because all of us, there's a leader in all of us and it can be developed. And it all starts with our ability to lead ourselves well. So as you prepare for next week's conversation, go check out last week's. I appreciate you. Always remember, your dream is possible as long as you are willing to work for it. I'll see you all next week.